Welcome to Carly Tackles Kitchen Cabinets, Part 3, Faceplate. How many of you have cabinets like these? And every time you want to get that pan all the way in the back, you have to crawl on your hands and knees on the floors and then reach for it. Well, today we're going to make kitchen cabinets using drawers. Drawers, you still have to bend over and pull them open, but at least I don't have to crawl on my hands and knees and reach all the way to the back. Now, a little side note, I haven't finished the faceplates yet on these drawers. Before you can make your faceplates, you have to decide, are you doing drawers, cabinets, and then we go from there. I'm using a Toughbuilt roller stand to help me feed the board through my table saw. For my faceplate material, I chose maple, which is a hard wood. For the faceplates, I chose to make them 1 3/4 inch wide. This is wider than my cabinets that I have now, but yet narrower than some of the cabinets that I've seen out there. This is something you can customize to you, whatever you like the look of better. Keep in mind, the wider the faceplate, the less internal space you'll have if you're doing drawers. Cabinet doors will still be fine. I cut the outside frame down to size, and now I'm drilling pocket holes. You only need to drill pocket holes into the 2 pieces that are running horizontal. Do not put them in your vertical pieces. I laid out my outside frame on my workbench, and I'm going to be using fine thread screws. Fine thread screws are designed for hardwoods, and coarse grain screws are designed for softwoods and plywoods. When you're laying out your pieces on your workbench, you want to make sure that all your corners are square. So you're going to see me use my 90-degree angle clamps, those red bars in the image, to help keep my corners square. You also want to make sure that the piece that you're screwing into the other piece is 100% flush. You don't want your top board sticking out a little bit than your side piece, otherwise you're going to have that groove and it's going to be noticeable. So one thing that I do to help with this is I use a clamp, and I clamp right on that seam down to my workbench, which helps push both of the pieces with the same force against the workbench. And you can see I'm using a Kreg Auto Max clamp here that automatically adjusts to the thickness of the piece, and I'm right on that seam. If you want to make a cabinet that has 2 columns of drawers, like 2 by 2, you want to wait till after your frame is assembled and measure for your internal piece. So that's what I'm doing now. Make sure you check your corners that they're at a full 90-degree angle. I use a speed square to do this. It's very quick. And then you can see that I'm still using that same clamping technique. I'm clamping on the seam to make sure that the 2 boards are flush before driving in the screws. If you're making a faceplate for cabinet doors and you want 2 doors for 1 cabinet, you can also use this technique to put in your middle beam. I have seen cabinets that do not have a middle beam at all, and that gives you more width. But there are some cases where you want that extra support. Now that you have the middle beam installed, we're going to take the measurements for our next faceplates, and these are going to go inside the middle support beam and the outside frame. We're going to drill pocket holes at each end of these pieces, and then we will install them. When you're ready to install the inside faceplate pieces, I recommend using spacers. The spacers that you can use on each end to help ensure that you're square, and it helps hold it in place. You can use different spacing size for the different drawers. For example, on this cabinet, I'm having 2 drawers that are 4 inches and 2 that are 6 inches. And I'm using the spacers to help keep me those dimensions. And then you can reuse these spacers in all of your cabinets if you're doing the same look. When I'm working with internal pieces, I'm using a clamp that fits into my dog holes because I no longer have the ability to really clamp it to the edge of my workbench. This allows me to clamp within the middle space. These clamps are awesome. I want more of them. I'll include the links in the video description below. Once you have your faceplate assembled, it's time to attach it to the cabinet carcass. When I built the cabinet carcass, I pre-drilled pocket holes that would allow me to easily attach the faceplate. If you want to see how to do this, you can check out the video on phase 1 of the kitchen cabinet series. There are also some other options that you can do. Some people use a brad nailer and nail it in, and then you have to use wood filler to cover those holes. Be careful with this approach if you plan to stain, because stain doesn't always work as nice as paint over wood filler. Once you have your faceplate in place, you can start drilling in your screws. Now you can also use clamps that help hold this in while you're driving in these screws. I had already screwed in some of these screws before filming this, so you didn't get to see me trying to work with clamps and getting it set up. Once installed, I go over it with an Orbital sander on all the outside edges, and then I will go by hand on the inside pieces and making sure that everything's smooth. I'll make a few passes with the sander. I'll do some at 80 grit, then 150 grit, and then 220, and I'll take a hand block and go over everything slightly just to make sure that there are no marks left by that Orbital sander. And there you have it. That's how I make faceplates for kitchen cabinets. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. If you'd like to see more videos in this series or other videos similar to this, please subscribe to my channel, Carly Tackles, DIY, tools and gadgets, tips and tricks. Make sure you hit the bell to get notifications when I release new content.